Welcome to the Self-Performance Strategies Podcast. Unlocking the secrets of self-performance so you can improve mentally, emotionally, and physically. The goal of this podcast is to help you create more freedom of time, money, and purpose. My name is Stephen, and I am your host. I believe there is always an easier way, and I am here to help you find it. Let's jump in to the SPS podcast. Hello, and welcome to the 12th episode of the Self-Performance Strategies podcast of the SPS podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about why productivity hacks suck. Yes, this is going to be a fun episode because I have a deep feeling that a lot of productivity systems and hacks out there are actually pretty useless unless you have your foundations in place first. Hacks are like optimization. They're the final step on the journey. But because of the way that the productivity and personal development industry is set up, these hacks and these habits are where a lot of people start. They start with these shallow ideas first, and then they wonder why they're not getting results or really making any huge impact or changes in their lives. And they start these things and they drop them and start them and drop them. And I've been there, you've been there. Anybody who says they haven't been there is lying. But before we jump in and talk about all of this further, I wanted to frame this conversation with a quote, like I always do. But this is a special episode because I'm quoting myself here, which is quite hilarious. How dare I, the hubris of myself, to quote myself in my own podcast. It's terrible. But this is a tweet that actually did well for me a couple of months back. And it is a belief. It is a deep belief. And I have it written in my journal. High performers don't need fancy productivity hacks. When they have a clear vision and are driven by a powerful why, they just get shit done. Pretty straightforward. Nothing revolutionary. I'm no fantastic Shakespeare writer, or I'm going to pull a quote out like Churchill or insert other famous leader who could talk about productivity. But I have a deep belief from working with people one-on-one, from running cohorts, from being in and around the personal development industry now for over a decade, leadership, for 15 years within corporate and sales environments. And what I noticed is the people that did well, or the people that do well, the people I see succeeding on a regular basis, yes, they might use the odd productivity system, but it's not the thing that gets their results. The thing that gets their results is their clear vision, their purpose, their why. They are working on something that is bigger than them. They have a massive magnet that pulls them forward, and they have a clear why of what they are doing. Let's jump in and discuss this further. Let's discuss this idea of having a powerful why and a powerful direction or purpose, because at the end of the day, emotions are key. It's the emotions, not the hacks, that create success. What you do has to make you feel good, and what you do has to make you feel successful. So there's an emotional attachment to it all. There's an emotional feeling that we get from it. If what you're doing is not making you happy, you should stop doing that and start doing what makes you happy. Because if you're doing stuff that doesn't make you happy, all the productivity hacks in the world aren't going to work. A quick exercise that you can do is to ask yourself these three questions. And obviously I'll have them in the notes below if you want to actually look at them. But the three questions are, is what I'm doing aligned with my life vision? Is what I'm doing helping me grow and contribute? Is what I'm doing fulfilling me? If you get a no for one or all of these questions, you should find ways to stop doing what you're currently doing. Now, that might mean switching a career. It might mean changing projects, dropping projects, and that might be difficult. But at the end of the day, if you're getting no on all three of those questions, that's why your productivity sucks. That's why you're not showing up each day and getting your work done. It's because it doesn't align with you. It doesn't actually flow into your purpose. Now, I'm not saying you should just go and quit your job right now or become an entrepreneur or stop being an entrepreneur, whatever that is in your career, in your life. But what I'm saying is when you have this type of clarity of why you're struggling to actually get work done, you can then start making sure that you've got work in your life that is something that you enjoy doing. And that's one of the big sort of processes and systems I always get my coaching clients to do, is to make sure the first thing they do each day is something that is important to them in their lives, that is aligned to their vision, that is helping them grow and contribute, and is fulfilling them. Because if they get that done first thing in the morning, the rest of the day, yeah, they might do work that sucks and they might not be doing work that they enjoy, but at least they started the day with something that's important to them. So remember that for your own productivity and performance. Getting into the meat and potatoes of this episode, what do I mean when I say productivity hacks suck? Or what do I mean, or what is a productivity hack? Well, when I talk about productivity hacks, I mean the common systems that you'll hear of, like time boxing, to-do lists, intrinsic motivation, productivity zones, batching, 80-20 principle, the Pomodoro technique. These all work and are useful, and you may have used them before and had some success, but fallen back into your typical ways because they stopped working. You've got to get much deeper than hacks and systems to make significant lasting changes. Going back to the emotions that I was talking about at the start of the episode. For example, if you work in the corporate environment, these types of hacks work because you have a structure where you have daily tasks and deadlines. But if you were to remove that structure, if you were to remove the flow of work coming to you and the time boxing you have in a 9-to-5 job and the slack that you have and everything that structure provides you, you remove that structure, and these systems probably wouldn't work for you because you wouldn't want to do a lot of the work that you do at your 9-to-5 job. I experienced this in my own life, and that's where we're going to go for the rest of this podcast. I want to go into a personal story and give you a framing of why productivity hacks are the last thing that you should use on your journey. But I experienced this moving from a 6-figure corporate leader to an entrepreneur about a year ago. And I know all the hacks, I know all the science. As I mentioned, been in and around leadership and personal development for over a decade. And within the structure of these corporate and selling environments, these hacks helped me. They helped me go from $12 an hour jobs when I first landed in Vancouver and was struggling to earning 6 figures in a sales environment and within project management corporate environment. But once you remove the framework and you start working on your own, these hacks don't work because, as I mentioned, a lot of the work that you do within a corporate environment, a lot of the work that you do on a day-to-day basis, you don't really particularly enjoy doing it, but you do it because you're getting paid. You know you're going to get paid at the end of the week. You know it's going to improve your KPIs. So you do that work within the structure of the job that you have. Now, a lot of us leave jobs like that because we don't like doing that kind of work. But unfortunately, when you're an entrepreneur, like I discovered, there's still a lot of work that you have to do that you don't particularly like doing. So what do you do now? When you're working on your own, or when you've left a structured organization, what do you do? Now, I know I fell into the trap, and I know you've probably fallen into this trap as well, is that you try to hack or systemize your way to success. You think back to, well, I use the Pomodoro technique, I use batching, I use this within my corporate job, and I'm just going to use all those systems again here with my entrepreneurial job. But what happens is most of us fail. Most of us hit walls. We face burnout. We get into procrastination and overwhelm because we're not getting to the root cause of why we're struggling to be productive. I know I've been there. I've been there many, many times. So much so there's been some dark moments I've logged back into LinkedIn and been like, I wonder if I can get another 6-figure corporate job. I don't really like doing all this entrepreneurial work. But no, I didn't do that. I kept going. I'm here. I kept going. But that's when I realized you can't hack your way out of this productivity hole that you get into. You can't use these hacks. The hacks are the last things that you use. And going back to what I said at the start of the podcast, this is what annoys me about the personal development, productivity, optimization, James Clear, Cal Newport, not blaming them, but the people who read their books and then repost their ideas on LinkedIn and Twitter. They all look at things from the lens of hacks, of doing systems and productivity, and it's this surface level BS. If you were to contact your average productivity coach or performance coach, they're going to ask you questions like, what are your daily routines? What are your sleep times? What does your diet look like? They look to fix surface level strategies because they want to make you feel good really quickly. So if you sign up to like a 30-day program or a month-long program, or the 30 days is a month long, if you sign up for one of their programs, They'll get in and make you feel good really quickly. You'll get some really quick results. But then you'll be back to where you were a month or 2 months or 3 months later, because that little spike of like adrenaline or dopamine that they give you to sort of like do surface level strategies about fixing your sleep and optimizing your calendar, then you go back to like not really feeling productive again, and you're like, well, that didn't work. Yeah, of course it didn't work, because it didn't fix the root cause. Didn't fix the root cause. That's why that's why productivity and performance comes from connecting to your vision and your why. Going back to the quote at the start of the podcast, what I said, high performers get shit done because they have a clear vision and a clear why. They don't really use productivity hacks. It was this connection, it was this moment in my life that I realized I didn't have productivity issues. I had an emotional issue. I had emotional issues. I had blockages. I wasn't clear on my vision or my why. I wasn't 100% clear on my direction. I maybe had too much on my plate. No, in fact, I did have too much on my plate. Too many surface level ideas. All the productivity hacks and strategies in the world aren't going to help you if you do not have your vision and your why sorted. As an entrepreneur free from the corporate framework, I realized I had to build my own frameworks. But wait, I hear some people say in the crowd, wouldn't all the hacks and performance strategies do that for you? No, because the hacks and performance strategies don't help you build your vision and your why. They don't help you build your foundations. I've heard somebody describe them as bumpers before. When you go bowling, 10-pin bowling, as a kid, they put these things down the gutters called bumpers. And when you bowl, the ball can't go into the gutters. They're always going to hit the pins. So when you actually have your vision and your why, you're actually building bumpers for your life. So you're not going to throw gutter balls. Your ball's not going to go down into the gutter. You're always going to hit pins. And that's what your vision and why does. Productivity hacks don't do that for you. Productivity hacks are like, holding the ball slightly differently, wearing different types of shoes, going to different bowling alleys, typing your name in differently on the screen. Those things don't help you hit 10-pin bowls more often. Just like productivity hacks don't really help you hit your goals. If you want to perform at higher levels, you have to develop your vision and why framework. You have to develop your emotional framework around what it is you're doing. You need to connect deeply to it, because knowing exactly what you want to do and why you're doing it, any of the small boring jobs in your business, or even for corporate people, any of the small boring stuff you do corporately, you're going to get them done because you know it's connected to a larger purpose. You know it's connected to a bigger target and goal in your life. And you won't necessarily have to use productivity hacks to get the work done, because you'll be full of energy. You'll put important work first in the morning, work that aligns with you, work that fulfills you first thing, and then the rest of the day you can get through and do the busy work because you know it needs to get done. The lower value work still needs to get done. And I've found this in my own life and in the life of my clients. The clearer we all are on our vision and our why, the clearer we all are on what it is we're doing, the easier it is just to get shit done. Now, without fixing these issues and building a more robust framework for your vision and your why, you will feel depressed, you will get overwhelmed, you will be unmotivated, and you will be limited by how productive you can be. Because you're not anchored to anything that is driving you forward. And unfortunately, no productivity hack, no system, no fancy system is going to help you fix that. So if you want to help yourself, if you want to improve your productivity and performance, ignore the productivity hacks and systems until you have developed your clear why and your framework. Now, you have to go and do some inner work to really get clear on what you want out of your life. You have to go and think about it. It can take you days, weeks, months, years to really drill down and keep making that vision and that goal and that why specifically clear and really motivational for you, but it is worth it. Like, I'm still updating my goals and my vision, but I've been doing it for years, but every time I update them, they get clearer and clearer and clearer. Like a lot of the things I talk about in this podcast and on Twitter and on LinkedIn and other places, none of this is once and done work. We keep coming back to the same questions over and over and over and over and over again, because as we level up in life, we also have to level down in life. And what I mean about leveling down is you're leveling down to your true purpose, your true version of who you are, and your true vision. As we level up, we also have to level down emotionally and get closer to who we truly are. This is a rinse and repeat process. So before you go and read James Clear, Atomic Habits, or Cal Newport's Deep Work for the 6th time to address your productivity issues, I would recommend go and fix your why and your vision. Get really dialed in on your purpose first. By the way, I love both those books. I'm not having to go at Cal Newport or James Clear. I'm just letting you know that sometimes the things that we read to improve our productivity aren't really the things that are going to improve our productivity. Taking the time to do this has changed my life and changed my direction forever. And I hope that you never forget this lesson. I hope that sorting out your vision and why is going to change your life and help you just knock out all that work with ease because you know it's connected to a bigger version of yourself. Thanks very much for joining me on the 12th episode of the SPS podcast. Did you know that most podcasts don't get past the 12th episode? That's just a random fact I read on the old internet recently. But here we are. We just finished the 12th episode. So I'm glad you're enjoying them. I'm glad you're here. As always, if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, I am at Steve Timoney, SteveTimoney. If you want to head over to my website or LinkedIn, I'm there at Stephen Timoney. That's StephenTimoney. Thank you very much for joining me. Please let me know what you think of the podcast. If you can give it a 5-star rating wherever you can do that on podcasts. Is that Spotify, iTunes? I'm not sure. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are about the podcast, and I will speak to you in the next episode. Make it a good one.